going to take on you publicly. None who enables colonialism, the killing of our people. I'm talking to you, soldiers of the savannah, ADF, those of Chomba, those of Bali, Pinin, those of Bui, those of Ngokitungia, Ndonga, all the forces. You arrest and release. I'm gonna call you out. They don't release. They kill our own. There should be reciprocity. When Cameroon begins to respect the Geneva Convention, we will do the same. When Cameroon begins to respect the rules and conduct of war, we will do the same. When the world begins to hold Cameroon accountable for its actions, we will know there is a system of accountability. When the world thinks it is necessary to protect the Ambazonian people, invoking R2P and PAC, we will know there are safeguards, and we will conduct ourselves in a way that adheres to international norms in times of war. Don't scream on what
we will take care of them. Our forces will take care of them. As you all know, yesterday, the Ambazonia Defense Forces, following the established Ambazonian Code of Law and Code of Justice, carried out summary execution publicly of 2 Cameroon spies recruited by the B commander in Ambo, following our code of conduct, our code of law and code of justice. They were executed. They were executed.
Good afternoon, fellow Ambazonians. Today it be the 5th day for February 2023. I come outside today for can give this one a serious warning for this ghost town where it come. And I talk today like una pikin, una soldier where they stand the fight for the revolution for free the homeland. I give this warning for Meme especially. Me wari talk, my name na Lucifer. I give this warning for driver them, Okada people, for the Kumba, Ekondo, road. Say as from Tuesday the 7th day for February 2023, bike, motor, bicycle, pedestrian, your latest time for you for step for that road. Now 6 o'clock for evening time. Any person who catch you where the worker above 6 o'clock with motor, Okada, bicycle, every pedestrian. May you get yourself to be blamed because I shoot you and kill you close range. I talk this talk, me talk, it go all for all the civilians them, whether they use that road, drivers especially. Make no man, I repeat them again, make no man no use that road. As from 6 o'clock for evening time. So that 6 o'clock for morning time before motor fit pass or bike fit pass. It means say road is stop for 6 o'clock for evening. No movement. I mean say no movement.
My country people them. Today, Mola Njoh he go fight himself and he go defeat himself. His own argument he go fall apart. So this pa na person where he come up with this argument say Njumba no be married. When I don't hear all those arguments and before. Now the same arguments in this way they don't use them for radicalize many Anglophone use them, and I believe say that one now which way they call them for English say fallacy. This is the fallacy of the Njumba no be married argument. Fallacy now just big English where it means say you get like a mistaken belief, especially for example if you base your decision on an argument where it no be sound or it no be reasonable or it no be truthful, so you dey make a mistake in your argument. So today when I go hear Mola Njoh it go make that argument about Njumba no be married, and I go play ye own video again where he self he beat himself, he defeat that same argument where he make him. Wanna listen?
So if you now say that we are one and indivisible, it is just not true. Because the moment you enter the UN, you are bound by the Constitution of the UN, which says that since the Second World War, they formed the United Nations. The question of a member state of the UN joining another territory was specifically provided in the Charter of the United Nations. They said you can join anybody, but make an agreement in writing, signed by both of you, send a copy to us, and we will notify the world of your union. I said, do you think that I'm crazy? Saying that we are two separate countries can be a treasonable offense if in fact that is not true. I said, show me the marriage certificate joining Southern Cameroon with La Republic, I will shut my mouth. If there is no marriage certificate, it is a Jumba. I said, so sir, what you are saying and miseducating the younger people is just not true. And I said, I believe you just simply annexed us since there is no marriage certificate. I said, I've taken the trouble to go to the United Nations and search whether there is any document signed by Muna or Foncha that we agreed to be together. There is none.
So when I don't hear what the Mola Njoh talk, it talks say when you enter the United Nations, you are bound by the Constitution of the UN. It talk about the United Nations Charter, say it is so if you been a member state of the United Nations and you enter into any international treaty, you supposed for deposit a copy at the United Nations Secretariat. It quote now wait away the United Nations Charter Article 102 a talk. But if forget to say that it talk now about member states of the United Nations. So when did the former Southern Cameroons enter the United Nations? When? Which date? Which day? And now who will be their ambassador for United Nations? The truth now say the people then for former British Southern Cameroons, they will be now a colonized people where it will be now a trust territory. It no be sovereign state where it will get a seat at the United Nations. That is a fact. So Article 102 of the United Nations Charter, it no apply to the people then for former British Southern Cameroons because they never ever be a member state of the United Nations. So if you go for United Nations, for go find document where it be signed by John Foncha or St. Muna, it no go ever exist because they never ever represent a sovereign people then where they be get a seat at the United Nations. Simple as that. I hope so that one it be clear. So now, Pa Mola Njoh he go make the next argument about the Njumba no be married case and he could defeat himself.
Then I explained to him, you talk about the Fumban conference and so on. I said the constitution binding Southern Cameroon from the day Nigeria became independent was prepared by the Colonial Office in London on the 12th of September 1916. It was put before the British Parliament on the 16th of September 1960, and it became law on 1st of October 1960, the day Nigeria became independent. That was the constitution under which Dr. John Foncha was working.
Yes, right.
It excluded foreign affairs and defense from the competence of the Southern Cameroon government. It created the post of a commissioner who inherited the powers of the Governor General of Nigeria. When we were being ruled from Nigeria, he had all those powers. He represented the Queen. I said, so for Dr. John Foncha to go to Fumba to have conversations with Haj Ahmadu Ahidjo, he was acting outside the competence of his office. In fact, it was an illegal act for which he should have been punished, because the constitution which named him premier did not give him any rights over defense or foreign relations.
So my country people them, when I don't hear what the Mola Njoh talk, he say for Dr. John Foncha forget conversation for Fumban Constitutional Conference with Ahmadu Ahidjo, that one alone is supposed to be a crime where he should be punished, because the constitution where the British they be deciding for London forgive the people them for Southern Cameroons, that constitution it be give John Foncha the powers for do some kind things them, excluding foreign affairs and defense. Now the same part this way it come out for talk say it go for United Nations to go find any document where John Foncha or Muna is signed up with a sovereign state with President Ahmadu Ahidjo. How can those two things be true at the same time? It no be possible. Now make I explain the situation for una. Mola Njoh tell una say the constitution where it be create the position where John Foncha be occupy him as the premier of Southern Cameroon. That constitution was not debated in Boya. It was not signed by John Foncha. No. That constitution, the Order in Council for 1960, it be written in London, debated in the British Parliament, signed by the British, and then imposed on the people them for former Southern Cameroons. Why? Because that territory it no be fit exercise full sovereignty. That territory it will be colonized. That territory it will be a trust territory. And now why that way they be talk say they no get the competence for talk or for discourse or for act when it comes to foreign affairs and defense. So una no understand foreign affairs now like the Ministry of External Relations for enter into international relationship with other nations them, like for sign international treaties and agreements, for get diplomatic relations with other foreign nations them. And then when they talk about defense, they talk about creating an army. So John Foncha it no be get the competence, it no be get the authority for get an army or for even discuss the foreign affairs or external relations of the former British Southern Cameroon. It said that power it will be vested in the commissioner when a British person, white person, where it will be based in Boya, where the British government, the Queen of England, it will give you the authority for control that territory, for control the army, control the defense, control external relations, even taxation and other things them. When the British they will control them. So make una understand this reality. How can this person it be so unconscionable and so disingenuous for expect for see an international agreement where it get John Foncha a signature for day, but at the same time the same person in the same breath and the same minute and the same speech it tell una say John Foncha no be get the competence for enter or even for discourse about the external relations or foreign affairs of Southern Cameroons, because the constitution where it be operate under it no be give you those powers. How can he consciously say that John Foncha no be get the powers for even get discussion for Fumban, but at the same time it expect say John Go Foncha go get the powers and the competence for sign on an international document, international treaty with another state where it be foreign and it be sovereign. How are those two things palatable? They are not. And now why that way? Ye own argument it fall apart. Yes, yourself, he don't slap himself and he don't defeat his own argument. So now why that way when I see why I call and say na a fallacy? The fallacy of this argument saying Jumba no be married, it falls apart in the face of any commoner where he examine them. It go see and say it fall apart. A fallacy just means say you make a decision where it be based on mistakes or it not be grounded in facts and reality. So basically you make a mistake in your argument. Now what that way a fallacy it mean? So when I say and say all these people then when they come out from the Anglophone zone, their arguments in no whole water, you see and say their own argument it not the work. Now why that way it no go stand any person where it gets sense. And now the main reason this way, their argument they only talk now amongst themselves. Whenever they take this same argument, go on the international scene, they tell them say that one now una internal problem inside Cameroon. Make una go resolve them within the boundaries of Cameroon, because the whole world is recognized Cameroon as one. Whether you sing them from January to December, it no could change the fact. Say independence means recognition. Recognition from the international community like the United Nations, the African Union, the European Union, and all the other international organizations them. They recognize Cameroon as one. So whether I wanna sing this Juba no be married argument today, it no could change the fact. Say Cameroon is one and indivisible. The person where Mola Njoh expect for sign the international treaty, the so-called international agreement for the married way it expect them. Now Estimona or John Go Foncha. Now the two people then that way you call them, okay? Now the same people then that way it claims that they no be get the competence for doing. But now the same people then that way come the 1st of October 1961, John Go Foncha it take a position as the vice president of the Federal Republic of Cameroon. So whether you like him or not, John Go Foncha if he accept the terms and conditions of the union. And make una understand this part where it be also very important. As Mola Njoh talk, he say John Go Foncha it no be get the competence or the authority for discuss the foreign affairs of Southern Cameroons. So who did? That is the question. If John Go Foncha no be get the competence for talk about the external relations of Southern Cameroon, so who be get that authority? The answer is simple. Now the colonial powers, the way they be draft the constitution itself, the constitution where it create the position of the premier of Southern Cameroons, where John Go Foncha be occupy that position. So now the British government they be get that sovereign power over Southern Cameroons. Now them befit enter into international agreement on behalf of the people then for Southern Cameroons. Make one understand that fact and that reality. Now the British they will get the army for the defense of that territory because it will be in their colonized territory. Now the British they will get the authority for carry out taxation and enter into international agreements on behalf of that territory. And I give you an example. Time where the British they will enter into agreement with the French for divide that territory, former German Cameroon, divide them into the British Cameroons and the French Cameroons. Some Cameroonian man be there for day? No. Ma tell you how you fit take personal sovereignty. Sovereignty if it be taken by the point of a gun. So when the Germans they become colonize that territory, they become now with guns. They seize the territory and they seize the sovereignty of that people then. When the British and the French they come for them for World War II or now World War I, they seized that sovereign power where Germany be the wield them over that territory. They seize them. And now why that way the British and the French they be shit on them for Europe. They divide that country amongst themselves. So 1919, no African person will be there on that table time where they will do the scramble for Africa and they will divide that territory amongst themselves. No African person will be there for them. Maybe we reckon with the truth. Say we be being a colonized people the way we not be get the powers them for govern ourselves. We did not have a say. And now why that way? the constitution for Southern Cameroon, where when they talk about them, they be debate them now for London, they vote them now for British Parliament, and they come impose them for people then for Boya. We know we get choice. So now why that way, when it become time for terminate the trusteeship agreement, the people then for former British Southern Cameroons, they were not there because they never get sovereign power. Now the British government as a sovereign nation and the Cameroon government as a sovereign nation, two sovereign nations then, they enter into an international agreement through an internationally recognized process where they call them say exchange of notes. And now who will represent the British government? Now His Excellency Cecil King, the British ambassador in Yaoundé for 1961, on the 27th of September, he signed exchange of notes with President Amadou Ahidjo. And the exchange of notes, it will be an international agreement, and according to the United Nations Charter, Article 102, that international agreement between the British and the French for transfer sovereignty of Southern Cameroon to President Amadou Ahidjo, that international agreement where it will be done through the exchange of notes for Yaoundé, it will be deposited at the United Nations in conformity with Article 102 of the United Nations Charter. That agreement is there right now in the archives of the United Nations Secretariat. If you go for there, you go see them, you go download them. We don't publish them for our pages and for Facebook, for YouTube, and for our website www.countrypeople.com. Go download the document, examine them. So, Mola Njoh Litumbe, if you go find or if you go look in all the archives in the world, you know go see one document where John Foncha don't ever sign them when an international document, because John Foncha it not be get sovereign powers. So now only sovereign nations they enter into international agreements. John Foncha has never been a leader of a sovereign nation. So you know go find one document where John Foncha signed them when an international document it no exist. If we sign which way they call them say a memorandum of understanding, a memorandum of understanding no be an international agreement, no be an international treaty. And now why that way? When I go for United Nations, when I go anywhere in the world, go for find the so-called Union Treaty, the only document where it exists, now the one where the British they sign them with President Amadou Ahidjo for transfer the sovereignty of that territory to President Amadou Ahidjo, and that is an internationally recognized treaty. John Foncha nobody get the competence for sign on that document. It could sign as who? Now the British they own the sovereign power over the territory, and before they leave, they transfer the sovereignty to President Amadou Ahidjo. If you don't believe me, that man where he stand or he sit next to Mola Njoh Litumbe, now Professor Carlson Anyangwe, he go explain them better, make una hear.
The British, by their own admission, hand the sovereignty over the Southern Cameroons to La République de Cameroon. On the 1st of October, the date set by the United Nations for the British Southern Cameroon to achieve independence, what happened on that date was the British simply invited that foreign country to Ambazonia, and they, in their own words, transferred sovereignty to that foreign country.
So when I say this idea or this argument about Njumba no be married, na argument where in no whole water, it don't fall apart. What way you also need to understand and say, any person get right for your own opinion, any person get right for make your own argument. What way matter, na say, when different person, where it been a third party, where it been neutral, when they listen to the arguments from the two sides them, which decision they go make them. That is the important thing. Make I explain further. You see, when Bakassi Peninsula case become up, Cameroon government is sue Nigerian government for International Court of Justice. What it happen I say, the International Court of Justice it get justices them or it get judges where they sit down on the bench. So these judges they come up from all over the world, from Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Japan, and they don't get them a vested interest in what way they happen for Bakassi Peninsula. So they be neutral. Their job now for listen to the case from the two sides them, for listen to each person's argument. And now one of the reasons is where judges that usually been an odd number. So if you get 3 judges, 1 judge, if you get 5, 7, or 9. The reason is so that when the judges they listen to the case, they go vote, and one person they go win. So Nigeria it bring your own argument, it table them, it convince the judges. Cameroon it to bring your own arguments them on the table, it convince the judges. They bring evidence. Cameroon it bring the Franco-German agreement where they get them for God knows when on a British-German agreement. That agreement between the British and the German Cameroon where it be demarcate the border of German Cameroon. Now from that agreement between the British and the Germans where the United Nations International Court of Justice it decide said that territory, the sovereignty for that territory it belonged to Cameroon. So why I explain this thing for Unana? So make una understand say any person get their own opinion and any person get their own argument about any situation. What the way matter? Now say when judges they should don't listen the case, how they go vote. One person go win and the other person they go losses. And now why that way before you bring your argument for court or anywhere else, you get to be prepared say the person will go listen your argument, it go make your own decision or you go formulate your own opinion. So the problem with the Anglophones now say because they always talk now amongst themselves, they convince now themselves. So they believe, say they get a very good argument. But who are you debating with? You are talking to yourself and you are talking amongst yourself. When Cameroon government if you take Nigeria go for court, the highest court in the world for this Bagassi Peninsula case, Cameroon win. The judges they listen to Nigeria's side of the argument. They listen to Cameroon government's side of the argument and they adjudicate and they arrive at a conclusion. They decide, say the sovereignty of Bakassi, where it is under Ndian division, when a part of the former British Southern Cameroons, the sovereignty of that territory lies with Cameroon. President Olusegun Obasanjo of Nigeria is signed for accept that decision. President Paul Biya of Yaoundé is signed for accept that decision. Kofi Annan, the United Nations Secretary General, is signed as a witness. The British government signed, Germany signed, America signed, France is signed on that document for accept the verdict. So now, faced with this reality, who on the international scene are you going to convince? Say Jumba no be married argument. Who are you going to talk to? First of all, you who? You go talk as who? You go take the case going for which court? United Nations, you don't get seat for day, so you will be talking as who? African Union, they don't recognize you. Who are you? So you could talk as who? You could take the case going for Usai, for Gambia, where when I talk so I take and go for Banjul, when a human rights court, and the decision for that human rights court, it not be they didn't even make that decision, sir. They make that recommendations. The recommendation from that human rights court for Banjul now say make SCAPO and SCNC they go back for Cameroon, they go form political parties for Cameroon, contest election for Cameroon, because that court they recognize say Cameroon a sovereign nation, one and indivisible. So when I fit make all these academic arguments them, when I fit write thesis for university, when I fit talk and from bar, convince them like how you convince your woman and picking them for house, talk amongst yourselves. But after 40 years, 50 years, when I go there exactly the same position, when I no go move, no change, because when they talk not to ourselves. When I fit take this argument, go now only from bar. This argument no go hold water for United Nations. It no go hold water for the African Union. And that is where the argument matters. Because that is where recognition is given to sovereign states. That is where independence is recognized. So who is Mola Njoh within Jumba no be married? If not but person where it just make an argument for convince yourself and your own people them. So Anglophones, we have to learn. When I call them say independence, it could be determined on who go recognize the independence. When I fit make all of these arguments, and I understand why when I make some of the arguments now for radicalize my own population, so that they be angry enough for carry checker from cry guns and go for bush. Now when I don't achieve them, from the 90s till today, when I radicalize Anglophone youth, they carry the guns, they go for bush today. What have you achieved? We then now in a situation where Anglophones, they kill Anglophones them. And even the gendarmes, the army, they kill the armed terrorists them. display their dead body in public, case goes nowhere. We put ourselves in this situation. So make we try get sense. Make we understand how the world it work. I don't propose, say Anglophones, they need to come together in a conference for deliberate, come to a consensus, understand the Anglophone crisis, and propose solutions. No be na this argument from Mbuba saying Jumba no be married. Who cares? The Jumba no be married, it never stopped Cameroon government from exploiting the natural resources like CDC, palm oil, and you can name it Sonara, offshore oil rights. It never stopped them. So continue over the talk, then Jumba no be married. If we start talking since the 1990s, so till the day where God called the ego, within 2024, what has changed? When I still continue to talk, then Jumba no be married, no be so. Make we get sense, my country people then. Today, na number 25 day for October 2024, where I make this publication. My country people then. When I visit with our website, www.countrypeople.com. We're there for Facebook, for YouTube, for Twitter, all over social media, just like MTN, everywhere you go.